football is done. But yes, France it is. They are the world champions as we speak. That's a big one, and we cannot fail to discuss that, even as we look at the visit by President Barack Obama. This morning for our news review, Ndindi Nyoro, MP Kiharu. Good morning, karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
And Dan Manzo, MP Makueni constituency.
Good morning.
I'm sure you must have watched the game last night. And
yes.
Probably let's start from there, because a lot has been said, and even your colleagues were in Russia, and a lot has been said about that as well, why they went there and why taxpayers had to pay for that. But did you expect it to go that way? Were you supporting probably France all the way, or Croatia? Let's start with you.
I definitely expected France to win. I have been supporting France all along. And on a light note, Fred, yesterday I updated on social media that, you know, Mafisi in Kenya, what it means. Yes. We know where they were supporting and for what reasons. Croatia, because there were some there were some photos online of their president. Yes. But as we are supporting good football. So you are not part of the team Mafisi? Of course, you can tell even by the look. I'm one of the good men in this country.
We'll take your word for it.
Yes. Yes. I supported France mainly because...
is it now because they won? That
no. Because they had very many African, you know, players, and they had very good defense. Of course, Croatia was very good in passing the ball, but you'll see that they are very good defense in France, and they could also sprint. But you can see most time the ball, almost 60%, 61%, the ball was with Croatia. But you could see they will surprise you with a score. Yeah. Of course, they had a penalty, and I think it was a great play. It was
definitely a beautiful game to watch. Now, your colleagues have been there, Bunge FC, some members of the committee in charge of sports in the National Assembly, and a lot was said. They got a lot of criticism last week. We were discussing it even on the panel here. Now, having watched this World Cup spectacle in Russia, and they said they're going to come and write a report. What would you expect? If at all it is true that they went there on a particular mission, and probably to come and help sports here in Kenya as well, what kind of report do you expect from them?
First of all, Fred, it's a high time that you have an African team even qualifying for the finals in the World Cup. And I hope that team will be Harambee Stars from Kenya. But of course it has to start, it cannot start and stop at just the lip service. It has to go to the real investment of the talent of the young people of this country. And before I come even to the people and my colleagues who went to France, there is a law before the House that I'm sure will be going for the usual processes, that we are seeking to establish a sports academy in every constituency in this country. So having around 290 sports academy will go a long way into honing talents across, not just football, because sports is a very huge industry in terms of even the worth of billions of money. Looking at across board, how many people can be engaged, and even the cost in terms of the people who are not engaged in sports in this country now, who are talented, what are the vices they are into. So it will go a long way into developing talent, and of course putting money into the pockets of young people. Going to the issue, I'm sure that is very sentimental about the people, our colleagues who are parliamentarians who went to France. I have to start by saying that some actually went there on their personal capacity. I even watched some even on Citizen TV explaining how they've been saving for that trip, because we have different perspectives of different things. Na kuna watu wanapenda mpira sana. So some went there, of course, on their individual capacity to enjoy the game from there. But of course, some others went there under the auspices of Parliament. Because Parliament, we have a sports committee. And I'm sure, because everything in this country, Fred, if we need basis in terms of funding, it starts with registration. And I'm sure the sports committee went there for a specific purpose, to see on how we can also try to develop our country in terms of sports, even from Parliament in terms of registration. So it is it is very easy for us to sit here and start casting aspersions, but I'm sure if people understand the basis on which they went, maybe you can appreciate.
Because the issue is this committee has been there for a while. They've attended quite a number of World Cups, but we're not seeing any fruit from that. Harambee Stars does not even qualify for the regional Africa Cup of Nations tournament. Is there any benefit that we should hope for as Kenyans, that when we see our members of parliament attending such a big international event, that it could actually result in something positive to our sporting talent as well?
Yes, you know, one time I was Secretary of Sports in the country, and if you don't involve members of parliament in, you know, such activities, they are the ones legislate, they are the ones who allocate budget. Members of parliament have to appreciate the sports equipment, and unless they see them, you know, you'll not know what to implement here. And you know, members of parliament have to be knowledgeable enough in a lot of fields. So I don't find something wrong with the members of parliament attending, but it should not be such a huge number. It should be just representative, such that 5 members will do, and especially people who are very keen on sports, because you know, as a country we are also saving. But most important is to see the sports equipment, because that's what we've been lucky here. And you can see France won with 14 members of their team. African, you know, a team is usually up to about 20, 22, but you can see the huge number. It means an African, given the proper facilities and proper training, we can actually win the World Cup. And I think if they are bringing that home, that would be great. But most important also is to study legislation and other good practices on how to make sports successful. We are already very good in Olympics. It's also good for us to be good in football, and you know, sports is a huge industry, very huge. You are already even fundraising here for sports. So I'm sure they are going to pick quite a number of practices, and members of parliament are usually very serious people. They'll make visits and they'll have meetings, even with the people in charge of sports from different countries, and they'll come back with a report which we can implement and borrow good practices from other countries.
Okay. Yes. This is probably one of the last times we'll talk about the World Cup. And of course, the whole of last week, there was that big discussion about whether or not it was really important or crucial for members of the Kenyan National Assembly to actually travel all the way to Russia